Hey, it's Friday. Welcome, foundits. How's your Friday going? How was your week? Must have been a long one because it kind of feels like it. But then again, hey, it's December, it's the end of the year, and there's nothing but good stuff coming down the pike. In fact, one of those good stuff, one of the good things, is Eddie Martin. He's all the way down here from Victoria, Canada. So we're going to be joining him in a little while. First, we're going to check in with everybody. Eddie, how you doing, buddy?
Doing really good.
How's your flight?
Dealing with jet lag right now. Yeah.
Jet lag, all right. Well, at least there's no time difference, right? Folks, we are, just as a reminder, we are observing COVID protocol. This is just the science and technology of OBS software, and my good buddy D sat back there. D, how you doing, man?
I'm great. It's Friday. I'm very excited to start my weekend here with you two and everybody in the chat. So thank you all for joining, and thank you for having me.
That's cool. Very cool. Hope there's Caleb Jackson says, happy Friday, guys. Right on time. He's must have been a drummer because he's always on time, buddy. Yeah. So, well, maybe we should just start off a chat. The wonderful Mr. Sebastian Zunino does it again, backing tracks. This is from his Ultimate collection, Ultimate Backing Tracks collection. You can check him out on Bandcamp. And this is something just right down everybody's pike, something to get everybody in a chill mood for Friday. This is a sensuous, smooth groove. Check it out.
Nice. There was a little bit of a feedback issue with it where it would sound a little staticky, but
Okay.
maybe we can figure out what's going on there. But that was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, we will figure it out. Well, welcome back, foundits. If you're just tuning in, we've got Caleb, we've got Angela, we've got Carla, and we've got Eddie Martin in the house. A wonderful musician, singer, songwriter, guitarist that I met a while back. And we've done a couple of shows together, and he never manages to let us down. A really singular songwriting style, singular singing style, and man, he can play guitar. Engaging, soulful, smoky. Those are the adjectives that I've heard people when they describe him. And he kind of defies genreification. How do you say that? Identification with a genre is. What are you, Eddie? I'm just
I don't
kidding.
know. I get asked it all the time, and I'm like, it's a cross between jazzy R&B meets folk, and I don't know. It's a jumble of stuff.
Oh, nice. Well, we're really looking forward to hearing you play. So I keep telling the founders, hey, you know the nice thing about this is that we go back. It's a mutual admiration society. We call it MAS for short. More you, more me, more them. And it's not an interview. That's the nice thing about it is that we get to just pal around and share war stories of the stage. You and I, we've shared a couple of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I know you're at some place and somebody calls out. It's always going to be. I'm pretty sure that I know what song you had lots of people ask you.
Freebird.
Freebird. I knew it. I knew it. Yep, that's it. That's the one. Freebird is usually the guy in the back of the room that's had a more than free drinks. And yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? And you've done your share of traveling, huh, with music?
Yeah, I spent somewhere between 8 and 10 years touring.
Wow.
And then the last 5 of it were solid on the road. And then I gave it all up, walked away from it.
Wow, walked away from it. So what are you doing these days with your music? I'm sure you got
Not a
something
whole lot.
planned.
I kind of put it away for a while, and now I just got a little bit of studio equipment that I have in my dining room, and I'm working on writing some new songs and recording, and it's kind of nice to be back at it again on a smaller level, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, it sounds like quite a few of us. We just talked to a friend of ours last night, and she's recording a single right now for an EP. We're going to be Dee and I. We're getting ready with our buddy Walt. We're getting ready to write and record in the next couple of weeks. We've got a little hiatus, and we're going to try to see what we can hammer out in that little time. So, do you have any idea? Like a hint at the style that you're writing, or where are you at? How would you describe your writing process? Whatever you want to give us, whatever.
Writing process. Well, the stuff I'm working on now is very groove orientated, jazzy, R&B-ish, I guess. But I've always been baffled by every artist has a different way of writing. I had a buddy who was a motorbike mechanic, and he would go to work and he'd work on bikes all day, and he'd come up with these lyrics in his head, and then he'd come home and he'd just put it to music, and boom, there he has a song. And it was amazing. He was an amazing songwriter. For me, I've always had to come up with a guitar melody first and hum a vocal melody and kind of keep it percussive and where I want to fit the words, and then all of a sudden the phrases just sort of come to me, and then at the time it almost doesn't make any sense, and then I sit back and go, okay, that actually makes sense. Yeah, it's very strange.
So you don't necessarily take an autobiographical mode of thinking, that's
It
not
depends. Like if like there's times where I've watched a movie and been inspired by the movie and picked up a guitar and just written about the storyline or
That sounds
heartbreak or
interesting.
whatever. But a lot of times it's just kind of a mishmash of different topics.
Okay, so let's go back to that when you said you took a storyline from a movie and then you wrote a song.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah. Do you want me to play it or?
Why not?
Yeah. Okay. It's called Sailor's Moon.
Sailor's Moon. Okay.
Yeah, and it was a really cheesy movie called In God's Hands.
In God's Hands.
Yeah, it's a surfing movie, and the storyline of the movie was this surfer got rescued by this big ship, and he fell in love with the captain's daughter, and of course that was her life was on the boat, so they had to break up at the end. Anyways, it was just kind of an inspiring story. A sailor's moon, a sailor's daughter, stolen by the full moon, and eyes as deep as the colors of the deepest sea, and eyes so deep they see right through me. I tried to take her from her home, a home ruled by the full moon. Yeah, I tried to take her from the shooting sky, a sky ruled by the Peruvian nights. And I know why I thought I could bring her my home. And I was a fool to think she could be free back in my home. If I could, I would sail the 7 seas and build a boat straight from my hands and my knees. Pray for the waves to send me a breeze and look to the sky for winds and guiding light back to her home. In my life, I have never ever seen a desert rose washed out to sea. And I saw him rise where her daddy's pride and the full moon's pull was stronger than mine. And I know why I thought I could bring her to my home. And I was a fool to think she could be free back in my home. If I could, I would sail the 7 seas and build a boat straight from my hands and my knees. Pray for the waves to send me a breeze and look to the sky for winds and guiding light back to her home. build a boat straight from my hands and my knees. Pray for the waves to send me a breeze, and look to the sky for rays, and guiding light back to her home.
What an
Very
amazing
nice.
song. I never get tired of that one, bro. I've heard that, but 3-4 times. Man, what a fantastic song. I love Sailor's Moon. So you said you were writing about a cheesy movie?
Yeah, it was really cheesy, but yeah.
So how did you come up with this narrative? Did the movie invoke something in you, a feeling, an image? How did that work?
No, not really. Just, I don't know.
Well, Walt Sailor likes it because Sailor's Moon, but it's spelled a little differently, buddy. But he said it's just perfect. Of course you'd say that's perfect. Well, I mean, how did you feel when you were writing it? Do you get feelings that take you somewhere, or is it the spin of the words? Because I notice you have a certain cadence, a certain phrasing in your singing.
Well, I happened to be listening to Etta James that morning, and I think I was already in that vibe, you know, and yeah, I don't know.
Somebody just said that the room got suddenly smoky when you were singing. I won't say who said it, but Karen, I agree, it's very mellow and moving, and Carla says it's very relaxing. And people are asking, where can we find this?
I got it on iTunes, but it's, I don't know, a lot of the stuff I have on iTunes is just not great quality.
Okay.
Yeah, it's under Eddie Warren. on
Eddie Warren.
iTunes. Yeah.
Okay. So Google Eddie Warren and Sailor's Moon, and hopefully you can find it there. And as soon as you get your website or your home or whatever, be sure to come back or let us know so that we can direct traffic your way. We'd
Yeah,
love
sure.
for people to hear your stuff. Because I mean, if that's one of your oldest pieces, is that what you
It's,
said?
it's pretty old, yeah.
Okay, so I can't wait for the new stuff to come out. That's interesting. You and I, we've shared stories of songwriting. In fact, when we met, I think it was under the guise that we were the KMR guitars, right? And so when somebody says a guitar player is funny, you get into this, you know, kind of like a up and at 'em attitude, you know. But as soon as we talked about singing songwriter, we became like pals.
Yeah.
We were like right there. We're like, yeah, you're my kind of people, you know. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting dynamic that we have with musicians, isn't it? I mean, when we were talking about this, we were talking about that both of us don't like to, like to defy genres, right? And another aspect about your songwriting, I like to co-opt experiences, other people's experience, but you mentioned that you don't necessarily like to explain what the song was about. Why is that?
Yeah, because it's like when, I don't know, every artist, every painter, it's a personal thing, right? And I've always viewed my lyrics as abstract because you can't really, it doesn't paint an actual story. I know what the story's about, but it's kind of put forth in an abstract way where most people would be like, either come up with their own, you know, conclusion of what it's about or what it means to them, but it's not visible, you know, the meaning behind it.
Right. And I kind of like that too. I think when I write, there are times that people are wondering, okay, that was a really dense chord and a very simple poppy song. So what were you doing there? And I tell people, it is what it is to you. I've been tapped on the shoulder. I don't know if it's happened to you and somebody goes, did you mean this? And what kind of response do you give them at that moment, right?
Yeah.
How do you handle that situation when somebody says, did you mean this with that word?
I don't think I've ever really had people say that, but I have had people say, "Oh, this song is about that," and like, no, it's actually not. It's about something completely different. So it's really difficult to figure out what, you know. I think with like country music, it's more very visible that it's a story. You
It's a
know?
defined story, right?
Yeah, but then it's, you know, certain songwriting very abstract. It's the only way I can put it.
The way you approach songwriting is one of my favorite methods because it gives the member who's listening to it, your audience, the ability to create their experience for it, right? Like you said, this is what you must have meant because that's what it feels like to me. And that's where that artistry comes in. Like, I love Adele for this reason. It's all very abstract to a point where everyone can feel it for themselves and make their own connection with that song. And that's the way, when an artist approaches songwriting the way you do, that it creates that same experience for everybody. And it's my favorite way to listen to music is, how do I feel about this, rather than knowing what the artist feels about it.
Yep. And I appreciate that, because I've had that where somebody does tap me on the shoulder and going, "Hey, Los, so did you mean this?" Like Hearts Fall is a good example. It's already kind of a heartfelt, and it was a co-opted experience at that time. Now it's more real for me. It's Hearts Fall it just feels nostalgic just hearing the title, right? But in the title, in the beginning of the song, I simply say, keep staring more than cream into my coffee. So the next line tells you that it's about memories, but a person tapped me on the shoulder and then imbued the song with depth by saying, "Did you mean tears?" And I went, "Oh, man, that's an interesting take on it." It suddenly got really deep, right? "Did you mean tears?" No, because I carry your picture just to give me something to hold, right? So that tells you the context. But it's interesting that this person, it resonated with them. Perhaps they were thinking of an old flame, or their father, or their mother, or their brother, or best friend, whatever, So it's interesting how we handle those situations, because it is, where do you stand with art versus craft when it comes to songwriting? How do you feel about that?
Sorry, say it again.
For you, songwriting is an art or craft? I always ask songwriters that.
Art or craft? Art, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know the difference. Craft. I don't know.
They could be the same thing too, right? Like,
Yeah.
your craft can be your art and your art could be your craft, and then they could also be separate, where someone just puts time into the craft to get better at it, and then someone dives deeply into the art aspect.
It's true.
No purpose.
Now that I'm thinking about it, before I started getting out and playing shows, I would write a song once in a while, and sometimes it would take me weeks to write a full song. That I would say, when you're in the moment, it's more of an art. But then when I started playing shows, and it was, I was on a mission. This was, obviously way back in the day, but I was writing every single day. And, if everybody was, going to a party, or, that was my time to go in the corner and write. Like,
And that's the craft.
whenever I'd be on the road, and I'd hike up a mountain to a river where nobody could hear me, and I'd just sit and write every single day. And that, I think, would be more considered the craft part of it, because you're writing to, build up your
repertoire. Absolutely.
Your repertoire.
And I thank you for sharing that, because it's a very personal experience, and we do have quite a few singer-songwriters that are burgeoning. For example, Caleb's in there, and he says that you're telling a story that's personal, but it's to the listener, and how they listen to it, it's a totally different story and experience. And to him, that's art. And he is always saying that it's meant to be dissected and digested differently for each person. And so he's actually saying, that's very insightful that he's saying that, because I also feel that if you're working at something, you say at such hour to such hour, I'm going to work at this, then that's a craft. But when you're hit by inspiration, like a couple of us have happened, that you wake up in the middle of the night, it's 2:00 in the morning, and you're like, "Oh man, I think this is good." And you write it down and you start recording. And the next day you come back and you're like, "Wow, I had a full song right there." In the art of inspiration, it becomes art, right? And so I hear quite a bit of art in your music. There's so pensive and conscious stream of thought that, to me, that's when it goes totally right-brained. and it's becomes that art, right? So not that I'm trying to dissect the frog, because then it dies. You don't want to dissect art until it, it's like humor in art. You dissect it, it's just like a frog. It dies on the table. But it's interesting to give the folks out in the chat a peek behind the curtain as to our creative process and how we're each different, but at the same time, it's very similar. The crafting a guitar solo, crafting, painting, or using words and images and whatnot. And I really appreciate that about your music. Every single time I've heard you, and I've heard you a few times, people always say that they get a feeling when you're playing. I feel this, I feel that. How does that make you feel to hear people talking about their feelings when you play your music?
Yeah, it's definitely a compliment. I remember one comment that I always used to get after shows was that they would say, "Wow, you disappear," and it's true, because I sync, like, I'm a very shy person, and I always had a problem with talking in between songs. Like, I just can't do it. I'm doing it now because I can't see anybody, but I hide behind the guitar, and I would just sink into the music, and I think they would notice that, and they'd be like, "Wow, you just disappear into your music," and it's like, yeah, I guess I do.
Thanks for saying that. You suddenly made me feel less eccentric by saying that. You hide behind your guitar. I'm talking to people on the phone, and I've got with that squeak, and I'm noodling with the guitar. It's my safety, my security blanket. By the way, what kind of guitar? Do you mind if we talk a little bit of gear? What kind of guitar, and what's her name, if she has a name?
It's a Taylor, and I haven't named it yet. Yeah.
Okay. Well, she sounds fantastic. Do you know any kind of woods that you got in there, in case Bill or any of the guys want to know what kind of woods you use on there?
I have no idea.
You don't know if it's mahogany?
I picked it up, it sounded good, and I'm like, this is it.
Well, she sounds elegant and expensive. Don't mind me, but I think she does. By the way, I just brought Fudia back out. She does have a name. Just got her out of the shop, and I was missing her. I mean, I had the doldrums because I took her in, and she's my number one. And she was made. There's an N. So she was written. She was born November of '93. Technically, she's a '94, a 40th anniversary. And today I decided, well, he's got the acoustic down pat. We're not going to be warring. We're going to be complimenting each other. So I decided to bring Fudia out. Because people have been emailing and messaging and going, "What's wrong with Fudia? How come you're not playing her anymore?" But I got to tell you, without any kind of distortions or whatsoever, that guitar wails, brother. She does.
What guitar, yours?
Your guitar.
Oh, I know.
Your guitar. I'm talking about your guitar, man. It wails. It's an interesting thing when we met. I mean, you're an introvert, I'm an extrovert, but man, we got together and we were jamming. And how long did we play, man? Hours went by, huh?
Oh yeah, hours went by. We were like, whoa, I had no idea. It was this late.
Yeah, we had appointments and.
Yeah, that's when you know it. I'm sure you have too. Played with a million musicians, and sometimes it just goes nowhere, and there's just nothing there. But you get a connection going. You feed off each other.
We clicked, man. It was like, pound it, brother. We got to talk. And sure enough, here you are, man. I'm excited. I can't wait to visit you over in Victoria, man.
Yeah.
How's the weather right now? How's it going over?
It's cold. It's not super cold, but it's cold.
Well, we got people in. It snowed, really?
Yeah.
How much?
We don't get that much snow. We get maybe. It snows for like a couple days and then it melts, and our weather's pretty much the same as Seattle's. So it's.
Can't wait to visit you.
Mild.
Hey, the chat is asking if we could name your guitar.
Yeah, come up with a name for sure.
Come up with a name, guys. Why don't you let us know? In the meantime, since you played that smoky number, I'm gonna play a smooth jazz in E minor. You guys mind? I'm gonna see if we can keep that smoky feel going. Here we go. Hopefully we stayed in the mood.
Nice.
Vibing nice and slow and chill for a Friday evening. And we're enjoying our evening with Eddie Martin out of Victoria, Canada. An amazing musician, and we're having a good time talking about songwriting and songcraft and playing music. So how long have you been playing music total?
Yeah, I was asked that earlier. I can't, I don't know. Over like 40 years, maybe. I started when I was, I don't want to age myself here, but yeah, I started when I was 15 or 16, and I'd asked my dad if I could get a guitar, and he said no. And so a kid at school was selling one, and I wanted to learn so bad. And so I bought a couple of electric guitars and a Ford amp.
A what?
A Ford amp. Like the car, Ford. It must have been some sort of promotional thing, but it was, I've never seen one since. Anyways, I would, after everybody went to bed, I would put the record on, and I'd listen for the first note of a song, and then I'd find it on the guitar, and I'd sort of piece it together, and that's how I taught myself how to play when everybody was asleep.
Did you have musical influences in your family?
What's that?
Did you have musical influences in your family?
Yeah. My parents were really big into the big band stuff, like swing, and I grew up, watching all those old movies, Fred Astaire and the big band movies, and John Wayne.
Nice.
So, can we get another song out of you?
Sure.
Nice.
Let's see what to play. This is one of the last songs that I wrote. I used to always write about finding my way home, because at the time, being on the road and musician, I didn't have a home. I felt like the road was home, but then when I came into the truth, it was like, okay, this is home. I'm back home.
I like that.
You don't have to whisper, 'cause I'm taking the long way home. I've seen no steps before in solid ground. What good's a road worth taking if it doesn't lead somewhere new? I don't wanna see another road unless it leads to you. And I won't give up, but I might need a new plan. 'cause I'm high off the ground. I've been taking advice from all the wrong places, living lives in all the wrong spaces, and yet I'm screaming out, take me home. So I wanna go home, home, home. Home, home, home. I wanna go home, 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 home. I'm keeping my feet on the ground, 'cause I might start sinking. I don't know what I want, but I walk alone. This pattern's only light comes from the lighthouse in the corner, the dingy room where I saw you. And I won't give up, but I might need a new plan. And you won't hear a sound, 'cause I'm high off the ground. I've been taking advice from all the wrong places, living lives in all the wrong spaces, and yet I'm screaming out, take me home. 'Cause I wanna go home, home, home. Home, home, home. I wanna go home, home, home. Home, home, home. I wanna go home, home, home.
Very nice, bro.
Thank you.
Very, very nice.
Wonderful.
And that was called again, Want to Go Home?
I wanna go home. Yeah.
Very nice. So you said you went through a period. I think it almost sounds like Picasso. You know, we all go through a little period where we're feeling blue or nostalgic or like we want a sense of family. Right. That's kind of interesting. There's kind of an underlying theme, right? I mean, we talked about this thing before.
Yeah.
A sense of connection. So is there a pretty big community, and I would imagine so, in your neck of the woods over in Victoria, Canada?
Community as in like music?
Musicians? Yeah. Uh-huh.
I only moved over here 5 years ago, and yeah, there's a few here and there, but when I lived in Vancouver, there was a lot more. So a lot of brothers and sisters would get together and play, but here, not that I know of anyway. Not as much.
Interesting. Yeah, Portland does too. It's got a community. It's just, we all have. There's a certain feel to your music, and that's what I was wondering, because it's a very meditative, very contemplative, very smooth. And I don't know if is it a regional thing that certain people from certain areas have a certain feel, certain sound. Would you say that you're a representative of that? That's what what I'm trying to get to.
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know where I got my sort of jazzier side of influence. Maybe listening to George Benson a lot growing up, and one of our local artists, Colin James, bluesy but soulful and
Yeah.
very melodic. I don't know. I always wanted to be different. Like I remember when I first picked up the guitar and started playing, my brother-in-law said, if you want it, you need to create your own sound. And he said, the only way to do that is to not learn covers. And so I never did. I never learned covers. I never wanted to be a cover person or get influence from somebody else. So, but I had all these influences that I listened to, and I went through a blues phase, I went through a jazz phase, I went through a heavy metal phase, I went through pretty much everything, folk. And I think at the end, it was just a mishmash of all those genres that influenced, but yeah, I always wanted to be different, so I never learned covers.
That's interesting. I kind of bucked that too because I don't know if it was Steve Vai or somebody like that said the only way to find your voice is to be you because you can't be anybody else, right? And if you try to be somebody else, you're just going to get frustrated. It's done, and it was done well. For example, the Beatles or Prince or certain people have a very singular style. So when you try to copy them, you sound like a copy of them because you're trying so hard. But when you're just being yourself, I think it's more rewarding as an artist because you are you've got an artistic vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hear that in your music. That's a wonderful way to approach music. I wish more people did that. You take your icons, you demote them to heroes, and then those heroes become influences, and then from the influences they just become just a pal, and you kind of eventually have to kill your heroes, right?
Yeah.
So did you have, you mentioned a couple of the influences you said, like for example, George Benson. How about the singing?
Yeah, all over the map, really, from 80s rock to jazz. I grew up with Frank Sinatra and B.B. King, and but
Nice.
my voice, I could never sing like other people that I wanted to. I have a very quiet, airy voice that it's hard to project. So, yeah, I don't know. I just had to write songs for my voice.
You do pretty well for yourself, bro. I love it. I really like that. And the reason the reason why I asked that is I know we've been on more than 3 events together, but 3 events I kept hearing Michael Franks, and I remember you asking, who is that?
Yeah, everybody keeps saying Michael Franks, and then I remember I was in Birmingham, Alabama, right when Hurricane Katrina had hit. And I met a guy who had just lost his family, and he was in tears, and he was at my gig, and he said I sounded like Michael Franks, and so I went, Googled Michael Franks.
Checked him out. It's interesting. Right when we were saying that, and it wasn't because I read Kennedy Santos, who's in the house. He's one of the KMR guitars. He's one of us. And he says, Eddie, your style is magnetic, smooth blend of Dave Matthews, Michael Franks, that's funny, and John Mayer. And he's happy that he can be here. We're happy that you made it, Kennedy. That I know you're a really busy guy, and he's another wonderful guitar player, wonderful finger stylist. And so one thing that I appreciate is this sense of camaraderie, as opposed to the gunslinger mode. There's more of a sense of camaraderie, and I love that.
And Kennedy's spot on, man. Like, absolutely, those are 4 influences I definitely hear in your voice, Eddie. So it's great. I love it.
Wow.
So at least they're trying to compliment you, even though
Yeah.
you don't know who Michael Franks
That's
is
it.
or didn't
That's
know
it.
who it was. At least just take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
And that's
I
like with
appreciate
music as a whole, right? Like it's always redone. Even if we're creating something original, it's probably been done somewhere else in a different way. But it's the flavor and our vibe that we put on it that makes it independent for us. And I'm a big proponent of the fact that no one can do what we all can individually do. They can do something like it, but no one else can bring what we bring to the table as an individual. And I like what you bring.
Thanks.
Very, very true. Well, it's up to you. Either I can play a song where you think of something, or if you've got something off the top of your head, keep going. You got the ball. Keep
Well, it's
running
up
with
to
it.
you.
You got it. You got something ready to go?
Yeah.
Then let's go.
Okay. This one I wrote because I called it 80 miles because in Canada, every city is like days apart. Whereas in the States, it seemed like 80 miles you're at another city, 80 miles you're at another town. So anyways, that's where this came from.
It's in your eyes, I can't explain it, but I know I need it. Pushing down the walls of 8th Avenue, Jazz Cafe, the one you never knew about me. And before I left my home for this road that I roam, I had in my hands the one, you know, the one they say to never let go. Someone came knocking on that foot miles ago, miles ago. And ask me how it is, the Main Street Shuffle, when you've only had a couple late night falls early down here. Whatever the case, I know my place has always been the light, 'cause I'm a road with southern places and northern faces, and always 80 miles to go. And before I left my home for this road that I roam, I had in my hands the one, you know, the one they say to never let go. Someone came knocking on Bedford miles ago, miles ago.
Woo-hoo-hoo. That was sweet. What was that called again?
80 miles.
80 miles. I like that story, man. I like that story, how the towns are like a few miles away from each other, and you kind of feel that sense of an oasis, something fleeting, ephemeral. I like that. Let everybody get whatever resonates with them, whatever they feel is relevant. I like that. Letting them have their own experience. That's wonderful. So these days, what kind of things, how do you find inspiration? You mentioned earlier sometimes you go out on a hike or something like that.
Yeah, I'm always out hiking, and the scenery here is amazing. So I live on the top of a mountain, so I can just take my guitar out on the cliff there and overlooking it's a big waterway inlet, and just be close to the cougars and the bears, and great.
You safe out there?
No, there's cougars everywhere.
Really? Have you ever run into one?
I have, yeah. We have on the southern point of Vancouver Island the highest population of cougars in North America.
Wow.
That's crazy, yeah.
That
They're
is
everywhere.
scary because it's an island. They can't go anywhere, and you
Yeah.
can't go anywhere.
No.
If they find you, you're a meal.
They're just proliferating, and they're a little bit more than 100 pounds, right? If it's a female,
Oh,
it's
they're-
about 100, right?
They can get pretty big.
Yeah.
How do you handle that, being on the island with the only way off by ferry or plane?
When I first moved here, everybody was like, "Why are you moving to the island? You're, enclosed." And I don't find it. It's such a big island. I don't find it that way at all. I don't know. I love it here.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we all embrace our environment, and I think that kind of it's fodder for more material. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff just writes itself, right? It's just, the chords. Is that how you approach it, or you have a dream, or you said earlier you said you have a little song melody, or?
Yeah, I just come up with the melody. But you said something earlier about having a dream, and I've had that so many times where you wake up in the middle of the night, you've been dreaming of a song, and you wake up going, "That's unbelievable. That's like the best song I've ever heard. I gotta grab my guitar and write it down or something." But I don't read music. I just keep the lyrics in my head, so I don't know what to write. And half the time, by the time I get to my guitar and find a pen, it's gone.
Interesting.
But there's been times where, I dream of a melody or a song, and then I'm like, wow, that's incredible, and it comes to fruition. But
Man, well, this is your show, but I had an experience like that with one of my songs that I woke up and even the chords, it had that real dreamy quality, you know what I mean? It's just, sometimes those are the best dreams, and you wake up, you're like, what just happened?
yeah,
I hope it's not somebody else's song.
Yeah,
Has that ever happened to
exactly.
you, that you think, I just wrote the best song and it's somebody else's song?
yeah,
It's Led Zeppelin always.
Deb Bidding says the same with poetry for me. Like, she approaches it in the same way, where it just comes. That's amazing.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so I mean, so let's hear another song if you don't. Do you mind?
No, not at all.
I'm gonna put you to work, bro. I mean, I got a good singer here. Let's get this guy going.
I have so many to choose from.
Headed for a fallback, really ain't inclined for the callback. Sitting on a landmine, obstacle, I suppose. It's been a long, cool summer, and I ain't about to give up that breeze. Not without friendly fire, falling on my knees. Winds of change are coming round, much too often, but enough, I suppose. I'm sitting here thinking that it's out of my hands into yours. Here comes that fall, back train's coming in. Here comes that fall. I'll always have these strings, and 6 of them everyone I know by name. How to count the ways along these inner city nights, 4 in the morning, summer midnight here. tell me sometimes out of sight and out of mind, out of hand, all mean the same thing. An early warning for this roller coaster disease. A sleight of hand and one more time, set me free if you don't mind. Here comes that fall, back train's coming in. Here comes that fall. I'll always have these strings, and the six of them ever wanna know my name. How to count the ways and long days in the city nights for the morning sunbeam. Here.
Yes.
Something like that.
Come on.
Wow, something like that. Why do people say that? It was a little something like this.
on.
If you wrote it, it goes a lot like that.
That was my favorite one yet you did.
Oh,
I
thanks.
love that style. I love that little bit of offbeat and off tempo. Man, that was really good.
Oh, thank you.
Man, oh man, you and I, we got to jam, bro. As soon as we can get these latency issues fixed, we're gonna jam, bro. I remember that day we were jamming. We just kept going song after song after song, and we just.
I mean, it's
Yeah, it
taken
was good.
everything I got to ask if you have a drummer and if you're interested in working with a drummer and a
Right.
producer. So I guess I just asked it by not asking it. But
Right?
if you ever want to work, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. How would that work over?
Oh, I got you. That's my
Yeah.
specialty.
All right. Yeah, I'm in for sure.
Okay, all right.
Wow. Well, I've been avoiding the inevitable. I might as well see if it'll work. Okay, because I'm supposed to be playing songs. Since earlier we talked about Luna, I'm see if it'll work. Tootie's working out, kind of funny. Can you hear her?
Is your original sound on?
Let's see.
Because there's like a little hum in the background when you played backing tracks. It's really interesting. It's never happened before.
It was off.
There it is. Magic button.
Here's my little dream, and I dreamt in Spanish that day. So see what you think of this. Contigo no hay motivo más. Let me make sure it's in tune. Sorry about that, guys. The dichotomy of good and evil. Discuss.
Yin and yang. Positive and negative. Attraction and deflection. Next person. I'll go into what I'm drinking tonight. I got myself a bottle of Weller Antique 107. It's hard to see, I know, but it's
nice.
there. It's delicious. Nice bourbon. Corn focused and wheat finished bourbon.
Very nice. For a nice experience. No, I'm in the driver's seat, so I'm not drinking. Here's Luna. See, this is my little dream. See how it comes out. Contigo no hay motivo malo algún amor. Nada más genuino, sincero amor. Me has hecho ver claro amor. Que nada más queda honor. Luna. me atormenta me traes paz a mí. Y si algo quema mi aquietas mi dolor. Eres la niña de mi vida, pequeña luz, eres mi guía. Luna, yo te seguiré. Sin tu amor, yo no sé.
Come on with that. That was the best version I've heard you doing that song.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hands
I don't know
down.
about that. After following Mr. Eddie Martin here, though, that's a tall order.
We need to have like this caliber of singer-songwriter on, because every time, man, you come out like a rocket ship. I love it. You come up, you show up to play. So thank you, Eddie, for bringing that out of Los.
Absolutely.
with
Yeah,
your
it's
wonderful, wonderful talent.
Oh, thank you.
really
Yes.
helps to bring it in, folks. We are going to be taking 2 weeks off, the last 2 weeks of December, but when we come back, we are definitely coming back revamped and retooled, and this is just an example of what we are going to be bringing, this kind of talent. We like to think of it, if we're on the left of center of the dial, if you were looking on the radio, right? It's not your everyday thoroughfare, but it's definitely, it's pithy. It's full of pith. it's denser in the material, in the quality, in the artistic vision, and we really appreciate that you came out. I mean, we're not done, because I still want to hear more songs from you if you can, but I'm just telling you, we're just really excited, because this is something we don't hear every day.
No.
And I miss, if you could pick an era, just think about this. If you could pick an era, which era would you pick for your craft?
To go back in time?
Or whatever. You know, if you could have picked an era for inspiration, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, which era do you think you feel most comfortable with the art, the craft, the feel of the song, I don't know.
That's a tough one, because I think every era has its good and bad, and epic music, like the 70s, obviously had some amazing.
You're gonna go there. I knew you were gonna go there. Why did I know?
Music. But I think if I had to choose one, I would the 40s.
Hey.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if it's 40s or 50s, but like the Fred Astaire era.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the hats. I love the coats they used to wear and the suits. I wish we could go back to that. I would love to rock one of those hats.
Yeah.
Interesting,
But the
bro.
music, yeah.
Oh my goodness! I watched a movie one time where they're talking about what was the golden age, and if you went back to the 1920s, they would say that it was like the 1800s. It's so funny how we do that, because I love the 70s, and the guys in the chat, the guys and the girls are always talking about that. They hear the Wah and they're like, oh, Wah Wah Watson, and they start calling out other stuff. But that's interesting. I would have figured like Cole Porter or something like that.
Cole Porter.
You know, it's delightful, it's the lovely, you know, the stuff like that. You know, I don't know, it's just your songwriting and all that. I mean, I love Cole Porter too, and I rang, and you know, the Gershwins, you know, Rhapsody in Blue and stuff like that. I mean, just there's some wonderful music out there.
When you go back to the 40s, you had to be a triple threat. You had to dance, sing, and act at the same time.
That's true.
And it's crazy that with the medium they had back then, it was one format. You watched a TV show, you listened to the radio when it was broadcast, and you had to be that good, right? To even be famous or even be on air. And now today we have hundreds of mediums at the same time, and nobody has to be a triple threat anymore. It's weird how our sense of entertainment has been so maybe like diluted, where we are fine with watching people eat food now. Like that's something people do. And back in the 40s, you had to be able to do everything yourself with just a mic and a camera. And I truly agree with you. Like the 40s, yes, that's where the purest form of entertainment, singing in the rain, right? Like all the things that we all wanted to be growing up came from. And everything else is kind of molded out of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go there since you went there. Are you a millennial?
Me?
Yeah. Are you like a elder millennial?
That's exactly what I am. I'm that.
Oh my goodness.
I'm a zennial, actually. I'm in that. There's like a 2 to 3 year window between Generation X and Generation Millennial that I am, where I remember not having the internet, not having computers. So I remember all those facets of life. And then I remember the internet and the computers. So
Interesting.
It's a very particular experience that I have in the world, right? And in time, because after me, like my child can work an iPad and she's 2. She knows how to unlock the password, get to the app she wants, and select the video she wants to watch.
Oh, wow.
Or the game she wants to play. She's 24 months old. Like, come on. So they don't have any.
And Eddie and I
experience
were
in
playing
anything.
Breakout on
Right.
Atari.
That's it. Like, I remember Atari coming out. I remember when I got my first 8-bit computer, and it was all text-based games. And, like, it being like, what is happening?
Well, there's your musicology lesson, foundits.
go.
If you were wondering, hey, where's our lesson this week? There it is. We're talking about eras and music and what it does to the art. And you just used a word that I've used it in the past, but not in public. He said it first. It diluted. Okay,
Diluted.
so I always say, let's filter and not dilute the message.
Yeah.
So it's kind of right there, you know. And the music has, because of you have option fever, where you have you can write using your iPads and your iPhones, and you know, you've just got option fever. You got all this stuff going on. Millennials have all of these great Ableton and all these things to work with.
So I'm working on a project with another friend of mine, and we had a discussion last night about this, that the level of connectivity and ability is insane, to the point where if you think if it's on your phone, it's just not good enough, right? It's not worth your time to learn. So he's like, I'm learning GarageBand now because it's on my phone. And he was like, I have such a high learning curve for this that I have to really put time into it. And you take what you have in front of you for granted today. That's like, for me, in my generation particularly, is just dive into everything you can as much as you can, because it all has a lot of value to it.
Interesting. Eddie, what do you got to say about that? Defend us.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I wish they had, you know, some of the technology and advances, you know, when I was, you know, I had my career and was on the road. Would have made things a lot easier.
Yeah, right? Like the iPad?
Like,
I forget lyrics, so I have to have, guys,
Yeah.
the iPhone has replaced the Motown studio. Like, that's a fact. You can do everything that Motown did on your phone with a 1/4-inch plug-in. It's crazy. And we just don't think about that anymore because we're like, we want the newest thing. This mega computer is going to be gone in a year, and I'll get a new one, and it'll be trash. It's crazy. We live in a very weird time. That's it. There's my Zennial experience for you.
Your Zennial. I had not heard of that yet. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. It's Googleable. You can Google it.
Is it?
Yeah, okay. Of course you can. You can Google anything. Wait, hold on. I got to adjust the wiki page.
Wiki page. Now you're gonna.
People out there know what I'm talking about. I got a couple people laughing.
That's funny. I'm laughing because I mean I'm learning, and they say that to be a teacher you have to be a student always. So do you teach, Eddie?
I have taught, but I don't know theory. I don't know how to read music, so I can only teach so much.
Yeah. But you know what? There's an X factor because of the experience that people like you and I have. I don't know my theory either, but I hear things. You do too. We're playing those chords that people are looking for. That those they call them magical chords, but you use those chords too, and that only comes through experience. Just the art of you just cycling through all the cycle of fifths and the fourths and all that, just trying to hear it until you get to that point where you're comfortable. So, but I can hear it. I can hear that you have extended chords in your repertoire, your tones, really tasteful. I mean, you are a guitarist, not just a songwriter. I think of you as a guitar player, a singer, and a songwriter.
Well put.
Boom, boom, boom. I don't think of you as just a singer or just a guitar player. I think it's.
I think of myself as just a guitar player.
You think of yourself as a guitar player? Okay.
Yeah, songwriting, and vocally, I don't consider myself a singer at all. I think it's one of those things where people kind of hate their own voice. I hear it and I'm like, oh man.
Wow, I get it.
Yeah.
So with the shyness you have, why does singing come so naturally to you? Like, how have you built that muscle? Because that's an open nerve, and you're exposing everything you are to everyone that's in front of you. And for someone who's shy, I can only imagine how difficult that process could become.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to challenge yourself and get past that fear. And I remember, I wouldn't have dreamed that I would have gotten in front of people and sang. But I wanted, at the time, I wasn't in the truth then, but I wanted the music career so bad, so bad, because it was all I knew, it was all I had. And so I met a singer, and we started writing songs, or I wrote most of the songs, and she'd sing, and I'd just sit in the background and play the guitar, and I was fine. And she started getting me to, sing backup vocals, and little by little, I kind of creeped my way into it. But then the relationship ended, and it was almost devastating because I thought, well, I can't just give up, so I forced myself to get on stage and sing in front of people. And I think the audience reaction really helped me think, okay, it's okay. I'm not horrible, but I'm not great.
Give me chills.
I can pull it off, maybe.
That's funny. You just, as Seinfeld, I just heard Seinfeld talk about when he first started performing, and he said he wasn't sure. He was writing jokes, and then all of a sudden he heard this smatter of laughter, and he was like, what is this? It was like, he said it was like finding gold.
Yeah.
Like saying, I'm going to go panning for gold, and then finding a huge golden rock. It must have felt like that to you, like the first time you were out. And
yeah, and then it becomes addictive. It's like that's why eventually it just felt like home, and so now it's so natural. Even though you still get nervous, you still cringe, but
there's your next album title, Feels Like Home. That's amazing.
Oh,
I already gave one to Kennedy, so that he gave me. I'm not giving anybody anything. They're just creating it for themselves.
It's interesting. I like it. Feels like home. Well, we're getting really close to the end. either I can play a song or you can play a song. Let us know how you feel.
You just started Hearts Fall, man. Come on, you're not. You ain't getting out of this one.
All right. So, but we've been having a lot of fun hearing you play. Man, I am just mouth agape. We don't use that word often, but I do feel like that. I hear you play, and it's just, man, so wonderful. So I'm gonna play minimal because I don't even want to touch all the stuff that you were playing earlier. So here's Hearts Fall. Keep stirring more than cream into my coffee. As the memory comes slowly back to me, I carry a picture. It gives me something to hold. Memories like autumn leaves, they'll stay amber and gold. Hearts will fall. Hearts will fall. She makes me happy. So how can it be that our heart can be in love and still be lonely? Hearts will fall. Hearts will fall.
That was
Thank you very
beautiful.
much. Thank you very much, Eddie. That means a lot coming from you. And man, time flies when you're having fun. We're actually going a little over time. Any last words, Eddie, that you want us to remember you by? Something that a place that we need to go find you, or any projects coming up, any concerts, events, anything you got?
Nothing.
What?
We'll change that. We'll
Yeah,
we'll change that.
I really want to get some new stuff recorded. I have a lot of new songs that I wrote maybe 4 years ago that I would love to get recorded. Yeah, so hopefully soon.
Let's do it. If you need any help, reach out to us. Chat, foundits. Don't forget, Eddie Martin is the man, and we will have him back. You're definitely coming back, bro. We loved having you here. Your voice, your guitar, your spirit, your thoughtfulness.
You're
the
inspirational.
art, the inspiration.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So, hey, we're going to take 2 weeks off, but don't forget, meet us back here at the lounge January 7th. We've got a special guest. Siobhan's going to be here. She's got a new song coming out. And guess what? I better not tell you. There's a little surprise coming with Siobhan January 7th. And then all of January, we will have a few other guests. We will be mainly showcasing, featuring vocalists. Some of your favorite vocalists and mine too.
Eddie, real quick, are you on Instagram?
Yes.
What is it?
Eddie W. Martin.
So I'll type that in the chat for everybody. EDIEW Martin.
And don't forget, this will be available for replay tonight, this show, because these are his songs. Nothing was going to be pulled by YouTube. That's wonderful. And we hope you guys come back and replay it and share it with as many friends and family, because Eddie Martin is back in town. We can't wait again. See you guys January 7th, all right?